Hello, guys. Good evening. Good evening. I'm just trying to set my camera properly. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure that I've captured the whole table. So please let me know in the comment section if you can hear me. So that we can start straight. So guys, I need somebody to please help me to confirm if you can hear me. I want to know. Okay, Rita, please, good evening. Please, can you hear me? Sound okay? Let me know. Hi, hello, good evening. Okay, hello. All right, so we can start. Okay, so the sound is okay. So let's continue. I'm just struggling to read messages. The setting is so low. I just want to make sure that everything is set in properly. I don't know. So we're going to start immediately. So, like I said, yes, I think this is better. With this, I can see this, and then everything is okay, all good. So let's go, let's start. So we're going to start with the front, okay, because like those of you that have been following me on my live stream, most times when we start like this, you see the network will be good before you know what is happening. Network. So today I pray that the network is okay. So we're going to start with the front pattern, okay. So that's what we're going to do. So you guys should please like this video. I would appreciate that. Hit on the like and just check this side. You see three dots, click on the three dots, you see the place to like if you like it, okay. So the first thing we're going to start with a straight line. We just mark a random straight line. So this line is going to serve as our line, okay. So from that shoulder line, we are going to mark bust points for this corset. So I'm just taking it step by step. So even as a beginner, even if you cannot sew corset, at least today you have an idea. Like I said, if you really want to perfect your pattern drafting skills, just make sure that most of the evenings be tuning into Stylish Naija YouTube channel. You see, I normally do pattern drafting here on live stream, and I try as much to break it down. It's very simple. Okay, so with that, with time, it's just a matter you become very good at pattern drafting. Okay, so we have a straight line, that's the start line for the corset. The next line we are going to add is our bust, okay, which is also called the nipple point. So for this, we're going to use 10 inches. So I'm going to mark it 10 inches. I'll just put a dot here. We're going to rule it later. And then after that, the next line we want, because this is a corset, very important, I'm going to mark an under bust. I'll mark an under bust here, which is 13. And then the next line I am going to mark is the waist. You understand? So the waist, I'm not using a side dart for this. So my waist, I'm just going to mark 17.5 for this, okay? And then I'll mark the full length of the corset. to be 23 inches. Okay, so after sewing everything to come to like 22, when your corset is too long, that's where you have issues. So I'm going to connect the whole of those lines like this. So this is the bust point, which is 10 inches, bust point, shoulder to bust point. And then this is my under bust, shoulder to under bust, which is 10 under bust. And then shoulder to waist. I'm just going to mark it like this. So shoulder to waist, this is 17.5, which is our waist. And then the full length, like I said, is 23 inches. Okay, so those are all of the lines that I have marked. So the next thing I want to do, I want to tell the dimension. That's the measurement I'm going to use for this corset. Watch properly. The bust for this corset is going to be 36, and then our under bust is going to be 30. The waist is going to be 4, and then the hip, which is the hem, that is like the hem, is going 40. So these are the dimension I will use for this corset blouse. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to start on drafting our corset straight. The first thing we want to do, we want to mark a shoulder measurement. So for this, the shoulder is 13. I'll divide 13 into 2. I'm going to have 6.5. So I'm going to mark 6.5 here, and then I'll add just like half 1 inch. Let's do 1 inch here for allowance. And then from that point, I am going to come down by 1 inch like this. And then once I come down by 1 inch, that line that I marked that I came down by 1 inch, I'm going to connect that line to our shoulder line like this. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to create an armhole. If you notice, because this corset has a shoulder, it's an armhole. Thank you so much, Angela Chuku. You're welcome. Good evening. Thanks, dear. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we to want to mark our round armhole. So for those of you that have been following me, most times you can measure round your armpits like this and then divide that into 2 for your armhole, or you can divide your bust circumference into 4, into 6 rather, and add 1.5. Okay, so most times if my client is on ground, I prefer to measure her round, but if they are not on ground, I'll use the formula of dividing the bust into 6 and then adding 1.5. So for this armhole, I'm going to be making use of 15 inches. So I'll divide that into 2. Then I am going to connect it this way. Okay, so once I connect it, I'm going to mark this line. This is my armhole line. It's going to serve as my chest. Okay, all of this marker, I'm going to throw them away after today because they are just doing nonsense. So I'll just mark it that way. And then the next thing I want to do, I want to come in by quarter of an, and then I will connect that measurement like this, and I have pass. So I'm going to like just connect this, is just to get my armhole. Okay, so that is it for my armhole. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, you guys should please like this video. Next thing we want to do now, I want to start creating our corset. Okay, so the next thing we want to do now, we want to take out our dart. Okay, so for us to take out our dart, we're going to use our bust span. So the bust span I'm using is 4 inches. That's 8 inches. I'll divide that into, I'm going to have 4 inches. So this 4 inches, I'm going to mark this 4 inches across all of those lines except on my chest line first. I will still extend it later, but for now I'll just mark them across all those lines like this. I'll mark it this way. So the next thing we want to do now, I want to take out our dart. So I'm going to come to this under bust. So I want to use a dart of like inches. Okay, so that 3 inches, or let me do 2.5 inches because it is a corset. So since I want to use the dart of 2.5 inches, I'm going to put 1.5 inches on my right hand side, and then I'll put 1 inch on my left hand side. Okay, but if it was a bust here, I think I'll do 3 inches. That's okay. So from this point, I'm going to mark these lines. I'll connect those lines. I'll just come down straight. Can you see? After connecting them down straight like this, the next thing we want to create a curve. Okay, so that here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a curve like this. So I'll create that curve. and then I'll create this second one also. I'll create it to this point. Okay, so now remember that my chest line, I am going to extend this line. I'll extend it to that chest my I'll extend it. And then the next thing I want to do now, I want to show you guys what I want to achieve at this point. So let me pull out the picture and show you guys. Okay. So now here's what I want to achieve now. This part, you see this curved part, this curve up. So that is what I want to achieve from here. So in order for me to achieve, I'm going to check, remember this shoulder. I'm going to use this shoulder, that's from this shoulder like this, that's from this top point of this shoulder to this point. That's what I will use to measure. Okay, so I'm going to, so on your client's body you can decide to measure it on your client's body, you understand? So you can decide to use 5 inches or 6 inches. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my pencil for that, so that I'll have it straight. So for that I'm going to do like 5.5 inches for that. Okay, I'll mark my off 6 inches there about. I'll just mark it like that. So I'm using my pencil. So the next thing I want to do, I am going to extend that line. So I'll just extend that line this way. Okay, so I did, let me just double check. So I did 6 inches. That's from my shoulder, 6 inches. Then from my chest line up is 2 inches. See, okay, it's about 2.5 inches. Depends on how covered you want that part to be. Okay. So after that, the next thing I want to do now, just use my marker. Let's highlight that line properly. Okay, and then the next thing, so highlight it and then I will connect this line up. Okay, the next thing I want to do now, I want to do a tightening here. So that I'm going to use like 0.65. I'll just mark it in here and then I'll mark it here like that. Okay, so after marking it like that, the next thing I want to do, I want to take this point like this. I want to connect that point, you understand? So this is the bust point, so you want to connect that bust point like this. Okay, and then this one also I will connect this. So for this, if you don't want your corset to be too covered, you can just do 1.5 inch from your, that's from your chest line. That's, you can come up, that's your line can be here, that's come up by 1.5 inch or at most 2 inches. But for this, since the client wants it to be very covered, so that is why I came up. So with this, the bust, that top part is going to be very covered. Okay, so that's here, you can see came to the chest line, that's above the chest line, can you see? So this line is what I'm trying to achieve, so that's this. So if you don't want it, you can just come down, so you can see what they use. You see our off shoulder, they use like 5 inches. This particular one is like 5 inches, that's from shoulder to that point. So mine, I use 6 inches. Okay, so next thing, so let's continue. So the next thing you want to do now at this point, we want to create our neckline. So you can see, if you notice that this line, this came down like, even it came down so much. Okay, so remember this is our, so let this, remember this is our bust point, but this mark, it did not reach the bust point. Okay, so we're going to like come up like 1 inch above our bust point, just mark it that way. So the next thing we want to now, want to create a curve. We want to create this, you see this beautiful curve. So in order for us to create this beautiful curve, most times this is what I normally do. I normally use my free hand. I'll just like this, just use my free hand first of all. So I'll tell you what I am trying to achieve by using my free hand. I'm trying to achieve a beautiful round. Okay, so I'll just mark it like this. Okay, to create that. And then after marking that, it's a simple process. The next thing I want to do, I want to mark this one also. I want to blend that one also into this armhole line like this. So I don't want it to be too sharp. So you can see, that is why you can see I am using my just give it a mark like this. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to check this point and this point. I need both of them to be the same, so I can decide to mark it like this, place them like this, and then check it, or place them like this and give the curve, You understand? So this I could do this, or I did it single the way I did it. It is okay. In order for us to come to make sure that they are the same, I'm going to take my tape, I'm going to place it here like this. I want to check that's from here to here. You understand? To make sure that it is the same. I have about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to place this and check it. If it is not the same, I'll extend it a little bit. Okay. So after doing so, our corset is almost ready. The next thing we want to do, this is my under bust, and it is a simple process. So if you see the way this corset is not those kind of corset that have center. So here, what I am going to do in order for me to have that you can see, it's not those kind of those corset that have that we are going to leave a gap here. So the next thing we're going to do is a simple process. I'm just going to take this like this, and then I'm going to connect it into that neckline point like this. Okay, just watch. I'll connect that into, so automatically I formed my cups. Then, so this one now, I'm going to use this now to like form. So I'll just use my hand to do it properly because I don't want to hear anything. Okay, so that's that. And then the next thing I want to do, I want to come to this side. In order for me to come to this side, here is what I am going to do. I'm going to check the difference between my bust point and my under bust is 3 inches that I have. So on this part, I'm going to come in on this part because you know I'm usually fuller. So I'm going to come in by 3.5 inches here. I added just like half inch to it, and then I am going to take this like this now. You understand? So I'm going to take this, I'll place it this, and then I'm going to give it a beautiful curve. So there are actually different ways to do this. So you can see, so I'll curve it. So I noticed that it came in a little bit. I am going to do it that way. So I'll just mark it that way. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to curve this. I'll just do this. So you can see I have succeeded in creating my corset. So you guys should please give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Okay, so the next thing we want to now, we want to take out our full body measurement and then do our snatching. So the next thing I want to do, I want to mark my full body measurement. So my bust, like I said, my bust is 6. I'm going to divide 36 into 4. I have 9 inches. And then I'm going to add my 2.5 inches that, and then just add like 1 inch stitching allowance because it is a corset. I'll come to my under bust here. I'm going to divide 30, which is for under bust, into 4. I have 7.5. I'll add my 2.5 inches and then to 1 inch allowance. Okay, so like I said, you don't need so much allowance because you're still going to lace the back. So the next thing I'm going to come my waist, I'll divide 34 into 4. I'll mark it and then add my dart and then add my stitching allowance. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, just want to make sure because my eyes is deceiving me. I'll mark my waist, which is 10, hem, which is 10. I'll add the stitching allowance and then add the dart. Okay, so once I am done with all of this, I am going to join those lines together. So I'll connect this to this, and then here I'll connect here. I'll connect here to here and then just give it a beautiful curve. Okay, so this is this. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to snatch the waist of this corset. Okay, so for us to snatch the waist of this corset, I'm going to, so this is around this part, so that is what I want. So I'm going to come in on this side. I want to take out like 2 inches. In taking out 2 inches from my corset, I am going to take out 1 inch from the front and 1 inch from the back. If I want to take out 3 inches, I'll take out 1.5 inches from the front and then 1.5 inches from the back. So that is it. So for this, so let's just do 3 inches. So I will come into this part. I'll just come in by a quarter here, like this, and then I'll come in by a quarter here. So that makes it half inch, okay? And then I am going to connect that line. That's like I'm taking out extra. So let me use another color so that you will see it. Okay, so I'll mark this like this and then mark this. Okay, so this is like me taking out that extra. Okay, so the next thing, I want to take out 1 inch from this side. Okay, so for this I'm just going to mark a random line. Why? Because I don't want that part, I don't want the dart to be straight, so that is why. And then I'm going to connect it like this. Okay, so once I connect it like this, the next thing, I'm going to come to this waist. Since I want out 1 inch, I'm going to take half inch to my right and then take half inch to my left. Okay, and then that I am going to come like this, as like I am taking out another dart. So that is it. When it comes to snatching, that's just like basically what I am trying to achieve. Okay, and then I am going to come to curve my corset to this part, this down, and then I'm going to go up by like 3 inches or 2.5 inches. So this one is optional. And then I just want to create a beautiful curve at the down part. So that is why I am doing this. So I'll just mark that into that point, and then I'll come to the neckline of the yoke, and then I'm going to use 3 inches by 2.5 inches. Okay, this is not, this one is not necessary, it is not needed, I just added it. So for me to create that my shoulder, here is what I am going to do now. So that's this shoulder. For me to create this shoulder, what I am going to do, I'm going to come to this point like this. So this is like a Queen Anne. So this neckline was not really necessary, I added it in case you want to add the neckline. So I'm going to come to this point like this. I'm going to mark, depends on how many inches I want. I'm going to use like 3 inches or 3.5 inches. You understand? I'll use 3.5 inches so that after sewing it 3 inches, I'll mark it that way. And then from that point, I am going to mark, I'm just going to mark it like this. So this is, I'll just mark it like this. But if I want it to be straight, like straight, I don't want it to be like a Queen Anne part. Here's what I am going to do. I'm just going to use 3 inches. I'll mark 3 inches like this, and then I'm going to mark it straight like this. Okay. So I'm just trying to show you guys different ways of doing this. So I'll just mark it straight. So this straight one is like the one on the shoulder. But if I want a Queen Anne, I'm going to use the other one. Okay, so the next thing we want to do now, we are done. So let's see if we have questions before. Can I use this method for transparent? Yes, it's very perfect. Well, you can use it for transparent corset. Yes, you can use it for transparent corset. Okay, all right. So the next thing we want to do, we want to cut this off. We are done. So let's cut it. Let me cut it and show you guys, and then before I show you how to do back, so you can see. So I'm just going to navigate this like this, and then you can see our beautiful piece. So remember this, just blend this into this armhole area like that. Okay, and then so you cut that straight like that. You have to be very careful, so I'm just trying to be very careful. Okay, so this one like this. And then remember, you are cutting this off because this is the pattern you are going to use for your shoulder. Can you see? Very important. So the next thing now, we want to cut out our cups. So here, so tomorrow I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft another corset, but that one is not going to have, it's not going to have yoke. So we're going to do the one that has a deeper plunge. Or okay, let's see by tomorrow. So I'm going to cut this off like this now. And then you're going to cut this off like this, okay? Important. All of these are very important. So I'll show you guys how I normally what do you call it, label my corset, so I don't get confused. So I'm going to label this. This is the side. I always used to put it side of the cup, and then this one is center of my cup. I can do it CF, okay? Very important. And then this is one, this is two, and then this is three. This is very important. This will help you how to place them, or else there's a probability of you placing your cups like this, and then you'll be wondering, your corset will be looking so funny. You now be wondering, like, what did I do wrong? This, that. So you can see how this looks, and then you see our shoulder. Can you see how beautiful this looks? Can you see? You see how beautiful this looks? So that's, I'm just trying to show you guys. So you can see how the front of this corset looks. You see, it looks so beautiful, perfectly well. So that is how you actually have this kind of corset, okay? So if you want to, for the sewing parts, I have tons of videos on my YouTube channel. On Monday, I'm going to be posting a transparent corset, the sewing part. I actually posted the pattern drafting before, or is already on the channel, so it's remaining the sewing part. By God's grace, on Monday I'm going to post the sewing part, so you can watch that. You can use the same process to sew your corset, okay? Yeah, the video is very detailed. And the next thing I want to do now, I want to show you guys how to drape the back, okay? So the back of this set is just a normal back. You understand? The back has, it has everything. It's not, you are not going to separate any yoke from it. So the back is just like a normal basic back of the corset. You understand? It's just like a normal basic back. If you want a zip for the back, if you notice, most these days, most corsets, you see that the designers prefer now to go for. So I'm just going to show you the two ways of doing that. So the first thing, I will mark my 10 inches for my bust point, and then my under bust, and then I'm going to mark my waist measurements, okay, and then the full length, okay. I'll connect all of these lines. So like I said, this particular one, the back is a zip. I think I've seen the back of that particular piece. I've seen the back. I think the back is a zip, so I don't know, I remember. I thought I saw the back. So I'll just mark it like this, and then I think this my marker is getting finished. I want it to finish very well. I hope people can still see it. Let it finish very, very well before I throw it away. So the next thing I want to do now, let's just continue. So we have our shoulder line, our bust point, under bust, waist, and then the full length, okay? So the next thing we want to do, we're using for our shoulder measurements. So that's 6.5 plus 1 inch. And then from that point, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch, and then mark that. I'll connect it into our shoulder line, okay? Can you see? And then from that shoulder line, I'm going to mark half of my armhole measurement, okay? Just like I explained in the beginning of this video, how I got it. So if you have not seen it, you can go back and watch, okay? And then the next thing I am just, so for this is just like me doing, it's like this marker on tire. So let's see. Let's collect another one. So the next thing I want to do, I want to mark my dart, the part of my dart. So like I said, I'm using 4 inches for the dart. I use 8 inches. You understand? 8 inches. So I'm just going to connect lines. I'll connect them straight like this. And then the next thing I want for the back, like I said, the back is a normal back. So I'll show you guys how to do it as a normal back, and then how to do it as a yoke. Okay. I'll put design at the back. Okay, so I'm just going to mark that way. The next thing, I'm going to come to my waist. I want to take out just 1 inch of my dart. I'll take half inch to my right and then half inch to my left, and then connect that. So this one is just like you doing a basic bodice. Do you understand? It's like you doing a basic bodice. That is what I am trying to do at this point, just taking that off. And then the next thing I want to take out the full measurement. So our bust is 36, previous measurement, divide that into 4, that is 9. And then from that point, I'm going to add my 1 inch of my dart, and then I'll add 1 inch in allowance. I all this get another marker. Okay, so let's see. Yellow. Let me pick the yellow one. So like I said, someone actually sent these markers. They are so scenty. He sends markers to me from the US. Isn't she? I'm going to mark it there. And then the next thing I want to do, I want to come to my waist part, and then I want to mark my waist measurement, which is divided by 4. I have 7.5, and then 1 inch for my dart, and then 1 inch sewing allowance. I'll come to the waist part, 30 divided by 4. I have 8.5. I'll add 1 inch for the dart and then 1 inch sewing allowance. And then the hem, we are using 40 inches. I would add 1 inch dart and then 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, and then I'm going to connect all of these lines together. Okay? So the next thing we want to do, I want to mark the next line for the top. So from this point, I'm going to come in by 3 inches, and then I'll do 3 by 2 inches. Okay, and then I'll create a round curve. You just create a round curve like this. So at this point, if you want to your dress, if you don't want it to have a yoke at the back, this is what you are going to do. Let me use my pencil. You are just going to extend your dart line, just extend it up, and then you cut it. Okay, because you are putting a zip at the back, so this is how the back is going to look like. But if you want it to have a yoke, like if you want it to have a yoke at the back, here's what you are going to do. From this point, you're going to come down with like, let me close this so it does not dry off. So you're going to come down with like 1 inch like this. So you mark the one like this. You just create a curve from that 1 inch and mark that line into your dart line, just to create, those corset design for your back. You understand, to create beautiful design for the back of your pattern. So you could do this. Okay, so with this, that means you are going to be adding a corset loop or whatever. So if you are going to do this, make sure this line, just extend this one up a little bit. Okay, that's just extend this a little bit. You can come up of an inch and then just mark it this way. So this is how it's going to look. And then your back, since you're adding loops, you're going to take out 2 inches for this. You're going to take out 2 inches, so you can see what I am doing, trying to mark that 2 inches, because it is since you're adding a corset back, you need to take that out, or else your corset is going to look like an agbada. So this part is the part where we are going to add our loops. Okay, I'm just trying to like mark everything. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is for us to snatch this line. Remember, we're using 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to come to this part, and then I'll divide this into two, and then I would mark that part. I'm just going to mark that part, and then I'll divide this by 0.75, since placing everything on one side, and then I would connect this like this. Okay, I'll connect this. So this is the corset back. So at the end of the day, this is how beautiful and lovely our corset, the back of our corset, looks like. For those of you that are just joining us, you came late. So that's for the back, and then this is for the front part of the corset. So this is the front, and then that is the back. So I just want to say thank you for all of you that tuned in to our tutorial today. So I've told you guys, tomorrow by God's grace, I'm going to show you guys how to draft another corset. So I'll see you guys in my next video tomorrow evening. God bless you. See you, all of you that tuned in. Bye bye. Vicky, thank you so much. Angie, good evening. Amarachi, thank you so much. Alfred, mm, thank you. If the name sound like your name, thank you. Alfredo, God bless you all for joining. Bye, bye, bye. Sweaty, sweaty.